So I picked up this PS4 for $100 and it is probably likely that you can too. So I have been thinking about picking up a PS4 for a while. I've mentioned this a little bit in a couple previous videos, but I have not had any modern consoles. The most modern console that I've had would be the Xbox 360, which I unfortunately no longer have because of Xbox reasons, and then the PS2 and the original PlayStation. I'm sure there's probably a lot of people out there that share this similar experience of just not being fortunate enough to have been able to pick up the most modern console at the time that it came out, because I know that I felt that way when the PS4 was announced, especially with all of the PlayStation exclusives. Even to this day, I have not played a bunch of them. So as one does when they want something, I took a little gander on Facebook Marketplace first, and I found a whole bunch on Marketplace and eBay for around $100, give or take. I also actually went to a local GameStop, and they were trying to sell it to me for a little bit more than $200. I'm sure most of you probably already have this idea in mind, but I'm just going to reiterate that I would not recommend going to GameStop if you are looking for a older used console. While I am kind of disappointed that it's not backwards compatible, which I actually did not know about until I received it and looked it up online and was like, oh, I can play PlayStation 3 games. But there is a really iconic library of PS4 games that I never got to experience, like exclusives like Bloodborne and Shadow of the Colossus, which I actually recently picked up for PlayStation 2, which I think I will be playing over the PS4 version just because I hear it's a little bit more desolate and creepy because of hardware restrictions. So I'm not sure which one I'm going to go with just yet. There's a pretty big conversation surrounding computers right now that going on the computer used to be a place and visiting the internet would be like a location. And in the same way, I feel like your console would be the place, activity, and commitment for visiting the location of a video game. Gaming on the go whenever and wherever you want is really nice. Don't get me wrong, I love my 3DS for that exact reason. But it's really nice to feel like I don't have to cram gaming into my busy schedule, and instead I can set aside time to go to my console and just do that activity for the time being and just relax my brain. Like I don't need to be constantly micromanaging time for everything. It is an inevitable byproduct of handheld and portable gaming that it kind of just starts to feel, at least for me, like a substitute for doom scrolling, which, don't get me wrong, I think anything is better than just like doom scrolling on Instagram. I don't know, it feels like it's taking away the precious feeling of being able to say, I'm going to find and set aside an hour or two of my time today to go to my console and dedicate that time to experiencing and playing a game and relaxing. The thing about handheld and portable gaming, which can be a really good thing, but can also be kind of a weird thing, there's kind of this feeling of impermanence when you're using a handheld or portable console. Your options are kept open. You can just switch over to another task really easily. But when you're using a stationary console in particular, even compared to a computer, because you can just open up another tab and just start doing something different. But with a stationary console, you're just a little bit more committed to the task at hand. And at least for me personally, there is a sense of relaxation that comes with everything else around me just kind of dying off, and I can focus on the activity at hand. Something that's been important to me is feeling like I can create a little bit of space between me and all of the mass consumerism happening, not just in gaming, but just our world as a whole right now, and trying to embrace a more cost-effective way to enjoy amazing games. I want to feel like I don't need to keep up with every big release that I'm not necessarily so interested in with really big price tags. The gaming industry used to feel a lot more like the current indie game industry, as in companies would take a risk with a low budget, and sometimes it would succeed and sometimes it would not. Instead, honestly, a lot of game and publishing companies are opting to play it safe and just releasing a lot of sequels and remakes of the previous generation's next big thing titles that came from the companies actually taking risks. It's not really just only previous generations' big games like Resident Evil or whatever, but also some more modern titles as well, like things that might have come out in the 2010s. A lot of titles coming out are just continuations and sequels of those pre-established huge brands already. There have been a couple amazing things to come out that are actually new, like Expedition 33, which is really awesome. I hope that we can start to get a couple more standalone titles. I feel like gaming is kind of a weird thing where quantity over quality kind of makes sense. Just hear me out. I am a huge fan of having a couple 20 to 30 hour games, maybe even less, compared to these huge, massive 50 to 70 hour game experiences. I want shorter games with worse graphics made by people who are paid more to do less, and I am not kidding. I remember starting to feel like something was wrong a couple years ago. I was going through Final Fantasy IX while I was visiting the countryside with no Wi-Fi, no LTE, no 5Gs, no nothing. So I was playing it on Steam offline mode. And man, I remembered how it felt to just play a game completely disconnected. That's all there was. I really thought that the pure joy and relaxation of just playing a game that I felt as a child was completely gone. And maybe it is, but I feel like the sense of disconnection that I got while doing this got me just a little bit closer to that feeling than I ever have before. Now, I understand that this can all just sound like a bunch of like nitpicky bullshit, like just play the damn game, man, stop theorizing about the best experience and like whatever. But I don't know. I feel like when we're living through such unprecedented times socially with the introduction of social media and the internet, I feel like now more than ever, it is incredibly important to be intentional and choose for ourselves how we actually want to live our lives. Really, at the end of the day, I just want to be content with my life. I don't always want to be reaching for the next big, amazing game every week, and I just want to feel like I have time to breathe and appreciate what exists already and experience what we have that's already so good. I am so comfortable to bet money on people who complain that there is nothing good out there right now, nothing good to play, that they have not gone back to older libraries and experienced amazing things made in the past. There are already so many good games out there, you just need to go and play them. This is not to say that I don't love when a new and amazing game comes out. Of course, if something piques my interest, I'm gonna go and try it out. It's just that I don't want to be in this money spending mindset of just spend on any new thing that comes out that's being marketed to me. Especially in our current economic climate, why should I spend upwards of $500 on a new console with maybe like one game on it that I'm interested in at launch, with hopes of the possibilities of maybe a couple games that I might like would come out on it, probably towards the end of that console's lifespan anyways, when I already know that there is a older console out there that is extremely affordable right now with a bunch of games that have been touted as amazing by previous generations that I have yet to experience. And then there's a whole conversation about just the cultural fatigue. Personally, I feel like there are so many of us that just have innovation fatigue. The last decade or so has been so obsessed with advancements and improvements, and not just in the video game world. And it's been really exhausting. I miss when we could just live inside an era and not be conscious that we're living inside an era and that this was just life and this is just the way that it was. Everything is so incredibly labeled, like I'm a millennial, you're a Gen Z, I'm a Gen Alpha. Like, shut up, just live your life, man. Life is just feeling so incredibly fleeting, like what we have today will just be completely different, probably unrecognizable in maybe just a year or two's time. there's just this sense of extreme instability and like nothing we can count on just being there. In a way, I feel like by playing older titles, I can hold on to something like the sense of stability that these games have because they're not part of current times. And I can kind of align myself with the era that defined them. And in a way, it feels like something less fleeting in nature, at least to me. When something is constantly changing, like our modern culture, it's really hard to feel like you have a sense of identity because there's barely a constant. Trends are just completely cycling nonstop all the time. It's like, how are you supposed to know who you are and what you like and who you want to be if the things that you're exposed to are constantly changing and there is just no sense of security whatsoever? So that is why I got a PS4. The person that I got it off of on Facebook Marketplace actually gave me such a sweet deal. I was not aware of this at the time of purchase because it was like a really blurry single photo on Facebook Marketplace, but it was actually the PS4 Slim, which I looked up online and saw that it is actually slightly better than the regular edition of the PS4. And they also gave me this super cool red controller and a couple games. They included Spider-Man, Ghost Recon, Mortal Kombat, and then also not Call of Duty, but actually Star Wars Battlefront 2 because she told me that she couldn't find the case for it, so she was gonna just give me COD, which is perfectly fine to me. And then I have a copy of Fighters, which I have been playing the most so far, just because I don't have a lot of the games that I want to play just yet. So this is the game that I have been playing the most so far. I also did not communicate with the seller or ask them. They didn't offer me or provide me any information about the storage on the console, but I was really delighted to find out when I booted it up and checked the settings that it is also the 1 terabyte version and not the standard 500 GB version, which was a very pleasant surprise. I am so incredibly satisfied that I was able to pick all of this up for $100 and a trip on the subway. So if you are looking for an affordable way to play a bunch of cool games that you probably have not experienced, go on Facebook Marketplace or eBay or Mercari or whatever secondhand website that you like and look for a PS4 or a PS3 or some other older console. I promise you that there is probably an awesome library of games on whatever console you pick, and it is incredibly affordable right now.